So personal storytelling is universal. Anyone can use it anywhere and anytime. It's your story. You decide how much or how little you want to share of your story. It can have a massive impact on your audience because you can connect at an emotional level with the folks that you're trying to serve. I tell folks that I work with all the time, your story is not for you. Once you've had the experience, you've had the experience. It's not for you anymore. Your story is to inspire, motivate, or educate somebody else out there. All right. So folks are able to connect with you at an emotional level because we see something in you that resonates with us. And when you share your personal stories, I'm not saying tell all of your business, right? Because it's your story, you can pick which ones to highlight and which ones to keep to yourself, right? But sharing your personal stories allow folks to connect with you even more deeper than they would if you were just always trying to sell them something, or if you were just always trying to push your service in their face. Leveraging your personal stories can help you build your personal brand. And building a personal brand is typically a lot easier and faster than building a business brand. So I know a lot of you, you may or may have not heard about influencers. The reason why influencing or influencer marketing works is because these people use their personal lives, their personal stories, their personal experiences to promote a product or a service. They've built their personal brands and are now using those personal brands to promote, to advertise, to do whatever. Storytelling in business is one aspect of marketing that you can leverage without having or needing external resources, without having to hire somebody, because it's your story and you get to craft it however you want. So we've talked about the what and we've talked about the why. Now let's talk about what kind of stories you can leverage, what kind of stories you should be sharing with your audience. Now, before you decide what kind of stories to share, you should absolutely have a knowledge of the audience that you're going to be sharing the story with. You know, I teach my clients something called the 33-33 method, where it's like you have different stories packaged and ready to go depending on the situation or the scenario where you find yourself in, right? So knowing your audience, knowing the people that you're speaking to, knowing what kind of stories will resonate with them. If you are a life coach, for instance, and you got invited to present to a group of journalists, and, you know, to talk to them about personal development and how to self-actualize. Maybe you had a framework or an assessment that only you, like it's your proprietary framework, and you're sharing this with a group of journalists. You're going to have to craft your story in a way where people who are not necessarily in your industry or share the exact same experiences can also relate to them. So before you decide which stories you're going to share, you definitely want to know the audience that you're going to be sharing them with. If you're just crafting your stories for social media to advertise on, to promote and build your personal brand on digital media, then you want to think about it as in, who are the folks I'm trying to serve? Who are the folks I'm trying to attract? Know who they are, know who you know what they like, you know they like your solution, but you want them to connect with you even further. So you think back and you dig deep for the stories that's going to resonate with them. All right, so let's talk about the kind of stories that you can share or that you can craft to help you build your personal brand. So the first type of story is stories of self, stories of yourself, right? So you can talk about your personal experiences, you can share stories about your why, you can share stories about your journey, how it's going so far. You know, there's different kinds of things that you can pull from yourself, from your personal experiences and share with people. Second kind of story that you can share and leverage are your founding stories, right? So your humble beginnings, how you started your business in your basement. I'm currently in my basement. I've been working out of this basement for the last 15 months because the pandemic, I didn't have an office to go to. There was no Starbucks to go to. I had to work out of my office. Now, when I build that, you know, skyscraper and I have that penthouse office, I'm going to tell the story of how I worked in my basement for this long because it's not glamorous. It's not fun. I have no windows, right? So telling stories of your humble beginnings, however humble they are, again, your story is not for you. It's going to inspire, motivate, or educate somebody else out there. So don't think about, nobody wants to know that about me. Yeah, we do. The people who are tuned in and plugged into you want to know it about you. 3, personal and company mission and vision stories. These are really powerful if you were tuned in and honed into your vision, and you're able to articulate that vision to inspire people. Number 4, and I kind of alluded to this earlier in number 2, but it's your failure to success story. If you had a failed start and you were able to turn it around into something good and great, people love a great comeback story. 5th type of story I want to talk about is memorable client or customer story. I just had a call with the client and this is what she said and this is what we walked through. I'm not telling you my client's business, but I know that difficulty that she was having, she's not the only one. There may be other people that this can help. Right. So when you're having experiences with your clients and your customers, take note of them, because although you're serving them maybe one-on-one in that moment, you can craft a story from that and use it to inspire your entire audience. Let's talk about the structure of your story. Every time you show up anywhere to tell anybody a story, you need to make sure that you have a structure. You need to make sure that you take them down a path. Now, you don't want to tell too long a story, but you don't want to tell too short a story. So the recommended structure for crafting your story is you want to start with the challenge. And I'm going to share one of my personal brand stories with you. So I just shared a couple of minutes ago that my very first business I lost. I failed it. I failed at it. I mean, I didn't fail at it. It's considered a failure because I lost the business. But what I gained from it is so much more.